Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Joy from Codilar Technologies Bangalore and welcome to MageCafe. This week's recipe is console commands. Now if you're a Magento developer like me, you might have come across those pesky little bin/Magento commands like setup upgrade, static content deploy. So how to make your own one of those little things? This week's video will look at that. Let's cook. Alright, so before we begin, if you just go over to your Magento installation directory and type bin/Magento and press enter, you should be able to see a list of all Magento commands like app config dump is there, cache clean, cache enable, setup upgrade, cron install, many things are there and their relevant description for what the command does. So this is a list of all the commands which are available to us via the bin/Magento command line interface. So what we'll be doing in this video is we'll be creating a new command. We'll be registering that command in this list of commands, and we'll be doing some logic when we'll be running some code basically when that command is executed. So let's say we'll type bin/Magento Codilar :demo because I'm very creative. And if you just press enter, currently it would just say that this command does not exist. Come on. Yeah. So there are no commands defined in the Codilar namespace. So that's because this command is not yet registered. But after we're done with the video, we should be able to register this command and do something when that command is executed. So before we begin that, the first thing which I want to show you is if I just type Symphony command and open the first link. So I'm pretty sure you know what Symphony is. If you don't worry. It's just how do I say this? It's an MVC. It's a PHP framework which is built to create MVC applications basically. But the cool thing about Symphony is that Symphony has a list of components, like there's the cache component, there's the HTTP component, there's the dependency injection component, and obviously there's the console component as well. So all of these components can be used separately outside of Symphony without ever having to install Symphony itself. So you can use any of these Symphony's components on top of your own project. So Magento took advantage of that, and Magento took this console component from Symphony and is using that to maintain their bin/Magento commands. So all of this coloring and displaying and everything is maintained by Symphony. So even though Magento is built on top of Zend, like you know, even if you don't, now you do, they are still using this Symphony component, which is pretty cool if you ask me. So the only thing which is different apart from this, how they have given here, how to create a command, how to run a command. So it's exactly the same in Magento as well. There's nothing different. I'll just share a link to this URL in the description as well. You can follow that or you can follow me because why not? The only thing different is how you register a module into Magento. So first you're going to have to tell Magento that you're registering this module, and then you can just run it just like how Symphony does it. So for that, first we created a module, like always, Codilar demo. Inside that, so we have the registration and module.xml already ready. If you don't know how to create a new module, you can always check out our blog on that. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. And we have one more file called di.xml. So di.xml is responsible for all your dependency injection related codes. So the first is config, which is again a boilerplate code. You don't have to remember that. This is what is important, which is responsible for registering a command. So basically what is happening here is we are doing type name is equal to Magento framework console command list. So if we come down here to vendor and Magento framework console, and if you open command list here, we can see that this is a class where all the commands need to get registered, you can say. So this class has a variable called commands in its constructor. So any variable in the constructor is susceptible to dependency injection inside Magento. Just take a note of that. It's not required, but it's good to know, right? So what we're going to do, what we are doing in this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines of code is that we're telling Magento that inside this class there is an argument inside the constructor whose name is commands. So if we come here, we can see it's commands. The dollar is not required, you can leave that. And the type is array, just like how it's defined here. And inside that we are inserting a new command called demo command. I know, pretty awesome, pretty creative I am. And the type of that is object, and the class which is responsible for that command is Codilar demo console demo. So if we go back up again, we can see we have a directory called console and we have a demo.php ready. One more thing to keep note of is all your console commands should go inside the console directory. It's just good ethics. It's not required, and you follow it or not, I don't care. Anyway, so that's what this file does right here. So we can close that file, its job is done, and we can close this as well. So now if we go to the demo.php file, we can see that it's a simple file which extends the command class. So the command is the Symphony component console command. So if that is too complicated for you, use a good IDE and just write extends command, and the first one which comes up after installer is Symphony component console command, and we can extend that. So after extending that, we have to write two functions. One is the configure function, so basically we're overriding these functions, and the second one is the execute function. Configure is responsible for setting up the name and the description. So in the name in this case is Codilar demo. One thing to note here is the commands are separated by colon. So this means that Codilar is the namespace, demo is the command. So let's say there is one more colon like this. In that case, we can say that Codilar is the namespace 1, demo is the namespace 2, and run is the final command. So that is maintained by Symphony. So Magento did nothing new here. It's just what Symphony expects. So we'll keep it like this, and then we have the description, which is kind of true. And then finally we have the execute function. So execute function is what is executed, which is run or basically called when the command is executed. So here we have just written, look at me, I'm alive. And one more thing which you can note is I have not written echo look at me or something like that. I have written output of write-ln. So that's just good practice, because the output interface which is given as a parameter should be used for anything related to the output in the console while using the console component of Symphony, and the input should be used for basically taking arguments and options from the command, which I'm going to show you in some time. So for that, input needs to be used. So just make a note of that. So I think that's it. That's the very basic, the very simplest of commands which we can create. Now if we just clean the cache here. Come on. Okay, I really need to get a new laptop. Alright, and then if we type bin/magento and press enter, any moment now. Almost there. Come on. You can do it. Yeah. So we can see that all the list of commands come in, and we can also see here that we have Codilar, and inside that we have Codilar demo, and the description of the command, which is kind of true. And we can see here that our command has been registered in the Magento's list of commands. So that's awesome. So now let's execute that command. So for that we need bin/magento Codilar demo. I know, pretty creative. And if we execute that, we should be able to see, look at me, I'm alive. So that is the basic of commands. So now the next part is how do we add something, some options, some arguments. So let's say we should be able to do -- name is equal to let's say John, and here it should say look at me, I'm alive John. So we should append the name which is being supplied here. So for now let's just hardcode John here. So if I run this, sorry, All right, so it's saying, look at me and I'm alive, John. But I can't pass any arguments here. Like you just saw, it's throwing an exception saying that the name option does not exist. So for that, how do you add new options? For that, let's first create a variable called options, which will be an array, which will hold all of our options. And then we have this of, there's something called set definition. Here we can pass options. So this options should ideally be a list, an array of input options. Let me just check here, input definition. Yeah, so this options is an array of input options. So let's add a new option here. So what I'm gonna do here is new input option, which is again a Symphony class, Symphony component console input option. Now I know that it's very bad practice to write new. You should always use the constructor to create new objects within Magento, but bear with me here for now. It's the content which matters, right? Not how you do it. No, just kidding. It matters how you do it. Don't write new, always use constructor, but just bear with me for now. The first thing which you have to supply this is the name of the command. So the name of the command will be name. The second parameter is the shortcut. So shortcut, let's say, is capital N. So shortcut is, instead of name, we can just write like this, and that should work. The third one is the mode, right? Yeah, the third one is the mode. So the mode in this case will be, let's say, required. It's a required parameter. The fourth one is the description, which is the greeter's name. And the fifth one is the default value. So let's change this to optional, because if it's required, then there is no use of getting a default value. So the default value will be, let's say, John. And that's it. We just defined a new option. So here, to get the value of the option, we use the input variable, and we just type get option and the name of the option, which is name. Now if we run this again, come on. All right, so now if I change this to something else like joy, it should say, look at me, I'm alive, joy. So that's one thing. So that's how you add options to your commands. So you can add as many as you want. You can just duplicate these and you can create an array of different commands. That is one thing. The other thing is, so apart from that, everything is already mentioned here, like how do you add passwords, how do you add okay, one more thing is, how do you color your output? So let's say this, look at me, I'm alive, joy, I want it to be in green, let's say. So for that, there is one thing called you can add tags here. So this is a success tag, and I'll just close the success tab. So my text is inside a tag called success. That should be parsed as a success message by Symphony. So the output should be coming as nothing, because I made a mistake, because I forgot. So let's just type Symphony console commands color. So how do you add colors? I'll just open the first link. How do you add colors? How do you add colors? Info is green. Okay, info is green. Sorry, there's nothing called success. Info is what is green. Alright, so now we have some green text. Like that, we have yellow, we have black and C, and we have a lot of things here. Apart from that, we can create our own output style using this output formatter style class, that you can go through it yourself. So there's a lot of ways of basically coloring your commands. Apart from that, so now one thing is, you can use everything which you are already using in your Magento here. So let's say we will change the command's name to something like product count. So this will give us the count of all the products which are inside this Magento system. So for that, what I'm gonna do is, okay, I'm not lazy anymore. I'll just type get on products count. So I'm going to take the product collection factory here, which is Magento, catalog, model, resource model, product collection factory. So that's our product collection factory. Let's create this and initialize the field. Alright, so the output now would be, so I don't need this anymore. So the output now will be, okay, so the output would be, you have, let's use printf. You have percentage f products. All right. So percentage f is the product count, and product count is equal to this of product collection factory of create of count. Let's run it once. Where was it? Yeah. There are no commands. Oh, I changed the command name to product count. So one more thing is, instead of writing product and count, you can just write the shortcut, which is P and C. That should also work. So this is also maintained entirely by Symphony, and it's pretty cool if you ask me. Come on. You have one. Oh, I have one product. That's sad. Anyway, so that's giving me the count of the products. So let's print the name of the products as well. So this will be our products. This right here will be products of count, and here we can do for each products as product, we can just output a new line called processing percentage s, where we will have product of get name. All right, let's see what happens. Processing. Okay, the product name did not come because I have to add a field to select. Okay, now it should work. So I just forgot to add the name to the fields to select. Since the name of the product is also an attribute, by default it doesn't show up. Alright, so test is our name of the product and it showed up. So that is one thing. So you can add any logic you want from within Magento. You can do cool things like basically, so there's one thing which I worked on personally, which was the client wanted the emails to be sent for all pending orders. So any order which had payment pending, like an online payment which is pending for more than 4 hours or so, those orders should automatically get cancelled and an email should go to the basically the user, the customer saying that your payment has been pending for a long time, so it's cancelled, and you get the point, right? So you can do anything you want, anything at all, and you can add as many options as you want, and you can use those options to do cool stuff. Apart from that, one more thing which I find is really cool about this Symphony command, which I wanted to show you, is there is something called a progress bar. So let's say you're doing something which takes a lot of time, like the best example is the static content deploy in Magento. So that does a lot of things with a lot of files and it takes a lot of time. So let's simulate something like that. So instead of just showing a blank screen to the user while your command is being run, you can show an interactive progress bar saying that how much percentage is complete. So that is really easy to do here in Symphony. So just you have to create a new progress bar, and I think the progress bar takes two parameters. One is the output and one is the max. So the output will be our output, obviously, and the max would be, let's say, 100. So 100 is the maximum number of things which we want to do. And then progress bar of finish. So this is where we'll finish. In between that, let's just let's run a for loop where I is 0, I less than 100, and I plus plus. So remember, I'm just simulating everything here. You will not be using something like this. You will be using actual products or actual orders to do something here. So let's first do progress bar of advance 1. That means one product has been processed. So after that, let's just, to simulate the passage of time and doing some complicated operation, let's just sleep for a second here. So if we run this, I'm not going to wait for 100 seconds, but you should be able to see a really cool progress bar which will go up every second. So as you can see here, we have 5%, we have 6 out of 100. So let's make it a little more complicated and introduce something like, so there are, let's say, a total of 100 entries, and here let's say we have 23 products, for example, and we are advancing one at a time. So then the percentage will be auto calculated and it would show up really nice here. Okay, nothing happened. Where did nothing happen? Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. This should also get changed to 23. All right. Cool. So you can see that here that the percentage is being auto calculated and it's being run here. So after it's completely completed, when we have this finish here, it would show up as 100% and completed. So I think this video has been helpful in explaining how this console commands work and how to create your own console command and how to, oh look, it's complete. I should have created a new line after this. Anyway, so you know how to color your console commands, you know how to show a progress bar, and obviously you can follow this tutorial of Symphony console commands anytime to do anything you want. So there are many things, like you can do curl requests, you can do you can color your commands, you can take inputs from users, you can take inputs which are passwords, case sensitive, many things like that, and you can do all of those things using this console commands. I think this video was, this video concludes here. If you have any questions, feel free to submit a comment, and also feel free to submit comments on what the next video should be about, and I'll try to create the next video on that soon. So if you like this video, please share and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which will help me in creating new videos. I will create new videos even if you don't like and subscribe, but what's the harm in liking and subscribing, right? So I'll see you till the next video. Thank you. Bye bye.